Hiya fragrance buddies, I'm Bree and welcome to my little kitchen where I whip up fun and easy DIY projects for y'all to try out with our fragrance oils. And speaking of whipping things up, I'll be sharing my simple whipped body butter with y'all today. Whipped body butters are super popular nowadays. I love their soft and fluffy textures. They're great for some post-sun pampering in the summer months too. To keep that warm theme throughout our body butter today, I've got some of our warm vanilla sugar fragrance on hand to complete this project. So let's make some. You'll need a large bowl that you can whip everything up in. Make sure it's heat safe because I'll be placing in a double boiler to get all my solid ingredients melted down. The first ingredient is some coconut oil. Then I'm adding in an equal amount of shea butter, my personal favorite part of every body butter. You can use raw or refined shea butter, whatever you prefer or have on hand. The last solid ingredient is going to be cocoa butter, which will nourish the skin even more and give the body butter enough firmness to whip. You only need a little bit though, too much and the body butter will be brittle and hard to apply. Now let's get them melted down. So I just like to place it right here in my double boiler, and if you're careful you can melt these down in a microwave. If you do, melt it in bursts of 30 seconds to prevent it from getting too hot. You don't want to burn your fingers on the bowl. Alright, so here's how we're looking so far. At this point I've gotten it off the double boiler so I can move on to the next steps. The last 3 ingredients should be added after it cools down some. If you have a thermometer on hand, check to be sure it gets down to 120 degrees. But if you don't, just make sure the mixing container is only barely warm to the touch, but the mixture is still liquid. I've waited 10 or so minutes, so I'm going to finish my ingredients off with some golden jojoba oil to keep the body butter soft and spreadable. And of course some vitamin E oil, which is not only great for the skin, but is also an antioxidant. Before you wrap things up, don't forget your fragrance of choice. And like I mentioned, I'm using warm vanilla sugar. It's the perfect balance of sweet, clean, and floral. Stir the liquids in well, and you're almost ready for the last steps. When making whipped body butter, I recommend letting the mixture cool completely before grabbing your hand mixer. It can take some time for it to solidify, so if you start whipping it now, you'll be getting quite the workout in waiting for it to come together. So pop the bowl in the fridge to give it some time to harden. After a couple hours, you can grab it and this is what you'll get. A little boring, but let's fix that. Whip using a hand or stand mixer until it fluffs up and softens. Cosmetic jars with wide openings are ideal for packaging whipped skincare like this up. In the past, I've shown you how I use piping tips to fill my jars, but today I'm going to be using an ice cream scooper because it's surprisingly satisfying. Don't forget to give the jars a couple of taps on the table so you can get as much in there as possible before capping the jars off. Thanks so much for watching, fragrance buddies. If you got to the end of the video, drop an ice cream emoji in the comments and let me know what you're most excited to make this summer. Be sure to keep an eye on our web store for new fragrances and promos. If you haven't already, become a fragrance buddy by giving me a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel and ringing that bell. I hope I see you again in the next DIY, and until then, stay scented, my friends. Bye.